Yeah, I think my biggest concern um, with individuals who are taking on duplexes, specifically large duplexes and multifamilies, is I really do believe that oftentimes when people acquire these properties, it's like they don't have a blueprint or an end game. Like they don't know really the purpose for acquiring it. It's just like it's good arbitrage. I know this is a good investment. I'm going to get it, right? And then I'm going to figure it out. So maybe I'll section 8 it. Maybe short-term rental. Maybe fix and flip. And I'm not saying that's necessarily her, but when I'm talking to a lot of these buyers in the marketplace and even the sellers, because sometimes the sellers are buyers that shouldn't have bought.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's
Yeah,
obvious to
for
me
sure.
that like when you looked at these properties, you didn't have a plan. It was just like, this is cheap. I'm gonna get it. And because it's cheap, I'm gonna earn money with it. And I'm like, man, it's just like any other business. Real estate's no different. You need to have an exit plan. And people don't have it. And that's my only concern with this purchase. At least it was a concern, but I'm getting the feeling now that she um she knows what she wants to do, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. So it's so interesting. I just had someone call me up that I've known for quite some time who shall remain nameless. And when he calls me up and he asks me this question, I'll be honest. The first thing I'm thinking is like, dude, you done seen my client. You know, he knew me back when I was an investment advisor.
Okay.
And so he saw what I did in the investment advising industry. He saw what I did in a couple other industries. He's seen what I'm doing and what I did in the real estate industry. He's seen what I'm doing in the direct selling industry. And he calls me up and he starts asking me for like biz development advice. I'm like, bro, if you just, I don't know what the malfunction is, but if you just came and worked with me, we would fix all those problems. But anyway,
Mhm.
he calls up and he says, which I thought was an interesting question. I get this from time to time. And he's like, bro, how do you find high net worth people? Like people who can afford to pay 50, 100, $200,000 in cash in investments. Like, what's the conversation sound like? Number one, but number two, how have you repeatedly been able to find these type of clients to work with? And I thought it was an interesting conversation because I know how I go about doing it, and I know how I would go about doing it today. Um, but I was curious to know how you would respond to it. So I think you know one of my strategies already. You know one of the first things I'm going to end up doing. But I'm curious, like, how are you finding your high? Now, of course, you're talking about real estate, but I'm just talking about people who want to
In
invest
general.
in the market, real estate. You know, people buy cars, people buy all kinds of stuff, people buy paintings. I know what my conversation would sound like, but I'm curious to know, like, how does that land with you?
How it lands with me is a lot of the business that I get is through referral. So I
Hmm.
get a lot of referrals and I get people who are interested in a variety of things. And so in doing that, my network has grown tremendously. And I think like you have to be in those circles where people are talking about those kind of things, and there that's the focus of that group of people, like if you're like, even when we went to the the conference,
Yep.
these are people who are performing at a high level. You have people who are earners, people who have built their business, they have multi-million dollar businesses that they've built up from scratch. So you're going to be in those circles with those kind of people who have those kind of resources to do those kind of activities. So,
Yeah.
you have to be in the crowd where that kind of activity is happening, and you have to be rubbing elbows with those kinds of people, in order to make those kinds of connections and contacts. And if you know one person who's doing it, or you have one client who, let's say, in that space, you're an investment banker or an investment advisor, or a what that one a wealth coach. Remember that, you're in that circle where you have
Yeah.
a client who's, okay, hey, they're investing, this amount. Okay, well, who do you know that you want to help that's in a similar situation as you, that you can refer? You got to ask for those referrals. So that's how I would approach it. If I saw that I, had a lack in that area, I would pull from the resources I already have to try to increase that.
It's so fascinating listening to you because when you've been an entrepreneur for a certain period of time, I knew what you were going to say because that was my initial response. And you just take for granted that people don't know. I mean, that was my initial response. I was like, the first thing I would do is the thing I always do when I either want to reset my business, move into a different class of people. And when I say class, and I'm into my socioeconomically, but even maybe a different industry, right? The first thing I do is I roll into the referrals, right? I'm gonna reach out to individuals, and I'm not even gonna do a direct sale attempt majority of the time. I'm just gonna call up someone who fits the description of what I'm looking for, and I'm gonna communicate the value prop and ask them for referrals. And if they raise their hand and say, I want to participate, great. But man, people really underestimate the importance of building your network before you need it. Everyone you meet, you should not be trying to sell all the time. Sometimes just build the relationships, build the trust, let them get to know, like, know, and trust you. Do business with them so they know how you operate, how you get down. Um, and later on down the line, that person knows 100 to 1,000 people that you don't know. That's the first thing I said. I was like, bro, you are like really stressing out about how to find high net worth people. I was like, you have 1,000 phone numbers in your phone. And I was like, each one of those individuals knows 100 people that you don't know. Call up the ones that have the deepest pockets. Call the people who've been on the job for 20, 30 years, got a 401k. Call them up directly, right? You've been in the real estate industry, you've had people who've bought things, call them up, right? Just call them up. Tell them what you want to do, why you think it's advantageous, ask for referrals. I knew this wasn't going to be a prolonged discussion with you. Yeah,
I mean, no, because I feel like we're on the same page with how we operate in that way.
yeah,
Like you said, when you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, you you learn those skills on the fly, you know.
hmm,
And like we talked about before, I don't have the background of the corporate America. I've never had the opportunity to work in corporate America. And so, you gotta play, to win, play the hand you got dealt, and play to get the most out of the hand. So I think,
yeah,
it's very, very important to pull from the resources that you have, with whatever you're trying to do, and we've seen it time and time again where a person, you meet one person and then it just kind of turns into a snowball, and you meet this person and that person. And, especially in real estate, especially in, when you were an investment advisor, because,
yeah,
you're meeting somebody who, like, oh, hey, so and so, I know this person, they really need to connect with you, and that's how it starts, you know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you've been an entrepreneur for more than 5 years, because 2 years is really, that's the separator. That 2 year is when, if you have a lottery ticket attitude, that 2 years really what separates the grown adults from everyone else, right? If you can make it 2 years to 3 years, that's usually with most businesses, whether you buy a UPS store or you're in some type of skilled, whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
Usually you break even at that second and third year. So I'm a firm believer that once you get to that fifth year, if you haven't begun to develop a network where you can pivot, and if you're not in the process of developing a relationship where you're building a network of 1,000 fans, let's say that 1,000 fans, I'm gonna start looking at you sideways. It's something you've been doing wrong. You've been way too transactional. Let's put it that way. Um, and then I'm thinking of a book that I know helped me out early on in my career. Um, by I think it's Bob Berg, Endless Referrals. I need to acquire that book again and reread it. But that book was so instrumental because I remember my first few years, you just trying to survive. I mean, you developing relationships, but you just
You said Bob Berg,
Bob Berg.
B-E-R.
I'm using my phone today, so let me look it up right quick.
Okay.
Endless referrals. I want to make sure you get his name right. But I'm it's
I mean, I
Shane
think
Bob
I think like a lot of times when I find it
Bob Berg. So BOBBURG. Endless referrals.
BURG.
Yeah, that book doubled my income. There's a lot of books that helped me grow my income and grow into the professional I needed to be. And of course, those things, 10x. But when the book that gave me the quickest hit in the short amount of time, I will always point to that book, Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. I need to read it again.
I think I have really started to find true value and not whizzing through books, like just, trying to read them as quickly as possible.
Hmm?
Because I feel like a lot of people from our group, like you, Mr. Peden, especially, have mentioned on numerous occasions reading chapters more than once, taking notes. Reading books more than one time, where it's like, okay, I could see the value in that, just like if you watch a movie more than one time. But I would start implementing it is really a game changer. I think that that's very much helps you to level up, even just on a mental note. Like if you're trying to develop skills of more discipline and things of that nature, I think it's definitely a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there's a book out there by John, and you'll hear, right? If you listen to, I mean, you listen to anyone that understands what we're talking about, and you start getting in certain circles, you'll keep hearing the same authors. You'll keep hearing the same book titles, right? The book that I'm thinking about is Today Matters by John C. Maxwell and Leadership Gold and the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I think he references more heavily in one book. I can't remember which ones they starting to blend together. But in one of the books in particular, he talks about how when he reads books, he'll in his book, he'll either categorize things like by topic or the nature of it, or he'll do that in his journal. And that's something that I don't do nearly as frequently as I used to, but I still do it today, right? I think that's so important because they say the teacher will arrive when the student is ready. I'll be reading something. I'm like, man, I know this is profound, but maybe I'm not ready for it yet. Maybe it's just not applicable yet, but I want to journal it somewhere or save it somewhere so when the situation arises where that information is applicable, I can go back and reference it. You know, that's a strategy I've employed time and time again, where I've read books 3, 5, 10 years ago, even when I've gone to trainings that other people have given. And it's like this person is bringing value, and I might not understand what the values are, but I'm still going to take notes. I'm going to reference this topic, right? And then, of course, like you said before, it's like listening to a song. For me, that's why I read a lot of the same books over and over again, particularly if I found them to have a really profound impact. Is because it's just like listening to a favorite song that I heard 10 years ago. Well, 10 years later, I'm a different person. So the song lands differently. As a
Absolutely.
different, you hear it different, right? Stuff that
Yeah.
you overlooked before, you're like, oh, or like I said before, you just look at it from a different perspective. Like, I don't believe, because I don't want to be hypocritical, because I will sit down and read 500 to 1,000 books. I'll do it. But I also understand the value of grabbing a hold of maybe a good 10 of them and 15 of them that really, really answer the questions that you need answered and revisiting them over again. I believe that's invaluable too. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the other way I would go about. I mean, the bottom line is it all ends begins with referrals. Like I remember when I started my career 20 years ago. My gosh, it's longer than 20 years now. Man, I lose track of time. But I remember so let's say you don't have the network yet. Let's say you haven't been in business for 5, 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
How I would go about doing it. I remember how I did it. Um, I called an attorney that used to walk into the bank where I started my career. Well, I didn't start it, but when I post U of M, where I started my career in the banking industry, there was an attorney that continually walked into the bank over and over again. Dude was a mess too. It was a mess. Oh my God.
The
Um,
attorney.
huh?
The attorney.
The attorney.
Oh, he okay.
Then there was a politician that used to walk to the bank. Mess, man, just straight up mess.
Some character.
Then there was a couple other business owners that looked like they had deep pockets, but they ain't really have deep pockets. They should have had deep pockets for the assets they were controlling and dealing with, but man, it breaks my heart to think about those days because I see it happening now. I see the same thing happen over 20 years later. Business owners that own assets, I mean, staples in Detroit metropolitan community. And these business owners are getting ready to lose those businesses for the same reasons they were losing them 20 years ago. But anyway,
Think a lot of business owners like just to kind of open that up a little bit, that discussion. And it's perfect for what we're talking about because I think there are a lot of business owners who they get momentum, right? And they start to see that they're getting successful, their overhead increases, their expenses increase, and their spending on things that they want, not need, increases too. And that's how people end up on that hamster wheel of like, okay, like you said, they're about to lose their business. Like they have these great assets, but everything that they're making is either covering overhead or covering something that they want, not what they need. And I think that happens to a lot of people who get success and who have successful businesses that are bringing in a lot of money and generating a lot of money because it's easy to fall into that trap, when the more you make, the more you want to spend.
it's interesting, right? Because in my 20s, in my 30s, I started really growing out of it in my 30s. But years and years of bad habits are still hard. So even though my mindset was shifting, my habits, my mindset and my habits shifted at different paces. And now they're just congruent. The moment in my mind, I'm like, I want to do something, the habit shifts immediately. But in respect, almost immediately. So I remember the investment advisor industry, one of the best lessons it gave me is that wealth is quiet. Real money is quiet.
Okay.
Real money is quiet. I knew people who were knocking down 7 and 8 and 9 figures. They would be up in Walmart, they would be up in Target, they would be walking up and down the street downtown somewhere looking like spam. Regular jeans, worn down gym shoes, flannel shirt, I mean, like what I'm wearing. You would not see the money. They didn't wear their money,
Okay.
right? Um, Now if you go to their homes, obviously they live in their money. Um, a lot of them had regular, used vehicles, unless they were really going somewhere where they were, where they had to show up a certain type of way.
Right.
Um, Obviously, depending on the event or situation, when they showed up, they showed out, right? But for the
Hmm.
most part, like even when I attended U of M, when I was doing our van to put myself through, to have money to put myself through school, particularly after a sit-in, which drained us all financially. I was like, I got to get this money. But anyway, um, I remember the people who would come in our van who would spend the most. It took me a while, but I began to realize that people who came in loud, pointing at stuff, touching everything, almost kind of braggadocio about what they about to do. No,
Right.
they come in there and argue over a leather couch trying to negotiate more than 10, 15% off the couch. Versus the people who came in, like I said, looking like spam, they would walk in, bedroom set, boom, living room set, boom, dining room set, boom, special order. Like there wasn't much haggling. Yeah, they wanted their discounts, but they were coming in buying entire basic sets for their homes. And it was just they just moved and looked totally different. And I don't forget that. And at this stage, and this has been coming on me for a long time. I mean, when you are an entrepreneur, I'm trying to be coquettish about this, but I'm not. Look, I'm more excited by the interest that's being earned on my money than buying a new car or boat or watch could ever make. To me, that's more exciting. Getting involved more so and more frequently in real estate, any monies that I get out of the real estate industry is going towards two things: taxes and for future investment, and watching that balance grow. Watching that asset, like seeing my net worth increase is far more valuable than anything I can buy. And entrepreneurs really have to begin to understand that. Like a lot of these business owners I'm talking about, they were focused on the income, what I can buy right now, how I can stunt right now. How can
Hmm.
I, roll up on and get some chick to sit in my car right now or leave out right now and all that. And I remember the conversation I had, even as a young person. I remember the conversations because a lot of them were 15, 20, maybe even 30 years my senior. And I'm like, Dad, you at this age, you doing what the 20-year-olds are doing? You thinking the way we thinking? I was like, all right, bro. I knew some of them were going out of business just because they were doing young man stuff. And I was smart to know the young man stuff will part you with your money. Um, the lesson I would want to impart to these business owners is that, like, you're not winning. So, number one, your business is not just paying you enough income for you to buy the stuff that you want and or need and or want. It needs to be generating so much revenue that you can invest back in it, whatever that may mean. So that staff, that's better talent, that's specialized talent, whether that's acquiring other businesses, whether that's investing in research and development so you can continue to crush your competition 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, whether it is generate enough revenues where you can begin to invest in other asset classes like stocks, um, natural resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I personally will not feel comfortable until my businesses are able to do those things. I can't get comfortable. until those things happen, right? And then maybe like when I can loan myself $200,000 out of my business to take advantage of that way of paying yourself without paying taxes on the income. My business can afford to do that for me. Okay, you might see me act up a little bit. Yeah.
You might start stunting a little
You'll
bit.
you'll see me start stunting a little bit. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But otherwise, no. No. The other thing is too, though that's changing because it's had to change. But I always go back to this. Before the pandemic, because the pandemic really threw a lot of stuff off. But before the pandemic, and even I would say before the recession and really depression of 2008, straight up, if you were earning 50K in Detroit, you were winning. You
Okay.
were winning, straight up. If you were earning 50K in Detroit, you could go to the bar and turn up a little bit. You had two cars. You shouldn't have had two cars, but 50K per year, two cars. You could get a three-bedroom home and have enough to pay your mortgage and do all the other things, right? If it was two households, I mean, two people coming together, knocking out 75 to 100K per year. Oh man, you were winning, you know? And a lot of people were buying the stuff on credit, but still, so they really weren't winning. But you could really look like you were winning for
Yeah,
real.
but they look, the appearance was that they were winning. They appeared
You
to be
could
winning. Yes,
you could stunt out of control,
absolutely.
right? Because you were winning. You were in the top upper percentile of income earners,
Absolutely.
right? So even if you were in debt, I imagine a lot of people still felt good about themselves because they had the two cars, they had a 3, 4 bedroom home, they taken a vacation once, twice, maybe thrice per year. You're doing things, even if you on borrowed time, because you're not doing things right,
Right.
right? Um, so definitely if you were earning 250, if you were earning 250 in Detroit back then, that was like the equivalent of having $2, $3 million in New York or Los Angeles or Miami. You know what I mean? That's what it was. So the bar was so low, like what people thought was winning was so low. And of course, we all know that's changed today, right? 100K, man, there's people earning 100K, couple kids, mortgage, car note, insurance. Man, be going to the grocery store, looking at the price of everything. You on a budget, you know what I mean? 100K, you on a budget. You ain't winning. Um, like people who behave that way, who use their money as piggy banks, as opposed to using their money as asset producing situations to create that financial independence. I'm trying to remember which song it was by Jay-Z. When he's basically saying, y'all don't know what real money is. You up there putting money phones up to your ear. That ain't real money. You know what I mean? That ain't real
Right.
money. When you know what real money is, you start moving different. You start moving different. There's, I won't buy a 200,000. Trust me, I'm not gonna buy 100,000 or $200,000 vehicle unless I have that in an account collecting interest. Believe it ain't gonna happen. I'm not buying a $30,000 watch unless it's sitting somewhere times 10 collecting. It's just, look, call me boring, call it what it is, but I'd rather be walking around knowing that if I get sick, injured, if the worst should happen, I'm still good. That gives me more pleasure and more peace of mind and a greater sense of I'm winning than anything I could wear on my body or drive. Straight up.
I mean,
Um,
some people are not seduced by materialism. Some people are just more practical, and that's not really a goal of theirs to have, material things, watches and
yeah.
fancy cars and that sort of thing. It's
That's, Yeah, I like those things too, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my financial solvency.
Hmm. Or your
Like
peace
I,
of mind, like you said, your peace of
yeah,
mind and, just feeling,
yeah.
comfortable in your skin and like, okay, I have X amount put to the side in case, like you said, God forbid something happens.
Like there's a book by Warren Buffett called Snowball.
Hmm.
And in that book, he talks about how he would literally be thinking to himself, if I buy this candy bar, this is how much the candy bar would cost. And this is how good it will taste. But if I invest it at 8%, this is how much the money I'm going to spend on the candy bar will be worth 5, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And I'll be frank, I'm thinking that a lot. When I'm getting ready to purchase something, that is the question I ask myself. Is the value I'm going to get out of this thing going to be worth more than that money invested somewhere is going to be worth 5, 10, 15 years from now? I start doing that math now on a regular basis, almost about everything, about everything. And when you start doing that math, your habits change. It's like, yeah, even in terms of what I plan to do in real estate, even in terms of what I plan on, I'm a former investment advisor. Obviously, I'm going to invest in the market. There are things I want to do there. Um, Everything I'm doing has a 5, 10 year horizon. Everything has a 5, 10 year horizon. Um, because I know the cost. I mean, you think stuff is expensive now. Oh my God. Can you imagine what it's going to be 10, 15 years from now? Can you imagine how much milk is going to cost? Can you, ooh, can you imagine? They're out here fishing the ideal of getting people comfortable eating grasshoppers and bugs because, man, can you? Mm,
It's
mm.
gonna it's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, you better have a long-term plan, man. Yeah, that living for today, you know, learn and invest as if you're going to live forever. I'm not saying don't live your best life today, but learn and invest like you're gonna live forever. Straight up. Anyway, so those people that I was just talking about,
What,
I approach those
number one
people.
stunners or who?
I approach those people. The ones that were stunting, I approached them. Um, because this is what I firmly believe. I believe that you have some a-holes out here, no doubt. But a lot of times when people feel like they winning or they've won, they want to give back.
I agree.
A lot of
Even
people want to give back.
even if they're not winning, a
Yeah.
lot of people have a desire to pay it forward and to give back and to help
Yes.
other people level up. Even if you're not, I mean, yeah, like let's say to outsiders, it looks like you're winning, but even if you personally feel like, yeah, I'm winning, but I'm really not doing nothing for real, you still have that desire to
Yeah.
like give back and be like, okay, let me see how I can give back, pay it forward, help other people, maybe even inspire other entrepreneurs, things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and for the people who are listening, because people hate. I gotta correct something. I'm not getting a $200,000 vehicle unless I have $2 million sitting away somewhere. If it costs more than 10% of my reserves, I'm not getting it. I don't need it. But let me correct that. Anyway, yeah, people want to help out. People want to, so that's what I did. I contacted these individuals and I was straight up with them. I was like, look, I'm brand spanking new and what it is that I'm doing. And I am looking to make an important decision as to whether I want to move forward with this. And the bottom line is, I want to work with people like you. And look, what I'm doing may not be for you. I'm not calling you up to get in your back pockets. I'm not calling to sell you anything. But if you were willing to give me 15 minutes, I'll bring the Subway, or back then I'll bring whatever, right? I'll bring the coffee and donuts. If you give me 15 minutes of your time, just give me your feedback and your perspective or opinion about what it is that I'm doing, so I can decide if I'm making a smart decision. I'd be so appreciative. I cannot tell you how many times I asked that question over a 3 month period of time of people whom I knew were winning, right? And you already know I'm bold. Like, I'll knock on the door. Like, I found out who some of the people who own medical clinics were who looked like us. And I straight up knock, drive by, knock, what's up? My name's so and so. This is what I do for a living. I'm not here to sell you. I'm just here to educate and share, and your perspective and opinion will be invaluable to me. I just want to introduce myself to you, let you know what it is I do, who I am, and 15 minutes. And that's what I did. And 3 months later, I had over 3,000 referrals.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, 3,000 referrals, 3 months.
Okay.
Because that's what I was doing all day, every day. Because I couldn't go back to the community I grew up in. They didn't
Hmm.
have legit money to invest like
Right,
that.
right, right.
My family members weren't born on third, second, barely first base, right? Some of them didn't have a bat or a ball. While I was at U of M, because I didn't know any better, which is what I'm teaching my children, like, I was there thinking about grades and performing academically and all this other stuff. The people who were making moves, they were there building relationships. I know people who came out of college building businesses together, right? Getting it in. And then definitely the bros and the sisters at the HBCUs, that's definitely what they were about. They were about that networking, building stuff together, creating empire at whatever level they were thinking about it, they were doing it. Like, when you attend college, when you attend a university environment like that, that is the one time that you are going to be around some really upwardly mobile people. And most of the people, there's a base level of intellect, because you're not going to survive at a school like that unless you have a base level intellect. So it's the one time you're going to be around intelligent people that you can actually converse with, talk with, plan with, think further ahead than 5 seconds. And you're going to be around people with means, because even if they don't have the means, mommy and daddy have the means, and they're going to have the means, right? I didn't do that. So I didn't know any better. I didn't understand the real purpose of attending college or a university. So I couldn't go back to even the people that I attended college with, because I didn't develop those kind of relationships with them, right? Um, so yeah, I had to, so in order to eat, I had to completely change my network. And so every single day, that's what I was doing. I'm getting ready to do it now. Now that I've relocated, I'm looking up and down the street. I see all these new business owners. I'm like, oh, every single one of y'all are going to know me by first and last name by the time the next 30 days end. You're
Okay.
going to know me by first and last name. You're going to know my business card. Now, we might not do business together. That's okay. When the need shows up in your life, I want you thinking about me, right? But that's
Mhm.
exactly what I'm getting ready to do. That's exactly what's getting ready to go down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm straight up just every single person. Hey, this is what I do. Um, let's connect sometime. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to be qualifying them, right? When I start having the conversations with them. If you don't mind me inquiring, how'd you get your business started? What did you invest in? What are you investing in? Did you use an investment? Those type of questions are going to lead me to my next set of cash buyers. Because ironically, when he called me up, he was looking for 20 and people willing to spend 30 and $50,000 in cash. I'm at the point now where I need people who can afford 150 and 200K. Like, some of the assets I'm looking at right now, like, there's a person I should have called this morning. I'm gonna call later on today. I mean, she wants cash. She wants 150K. And in my humble opinion, the property is more than worth it. It's probably, in my opinion, the ARV on that property in 5 years is going to be 300K. Easy, easy. So I need people who can drop that type of cash. So that's exactly what I'm getting ready to do. Exactly what I'm getting ready to do. You know, the other thing you can do is more of a mindset framework, if you will. But if you want to attract high net worth people, ask yourself what are the needs of high net worth people. People who earn 300, 500, a million, 20 million, their needs are different, but they have needs. What can you do to serve a person who's in that tax bracket? What can you do to serve their needs? Right? Um, my experience has been the wealthier people get, the more risk averse they get. So, you know, number one is crazy. You have people out here left and right all pursuing 20% returns. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. We are like an unprecedented time. Real estate is not going to continue to um, increase in value like that. It's not going to appreciate like that. The stock market is not going to continue to appreciate like that. Historically, real estate historically has increased by 3 to 5% annually. That's that's normal. I remember when I was an investment advisor, I never, if my clients walked in the door tomorrow, I want a 20% return, I politely escorted them out the door. I was like, I don't do that here. Go find somebody else to speculate with your money. What I will do is we're gonna hit that 8%. We're gonna hit that 12% on a good year. And when the economy fell off the cliff during the recession, I'm proud to say that almost all my clients to a T did not lose money. They
Oh,
were
wow.
still earning 3 and 5% on majority of portfolios I put together.
Okay.
Now the strategies I used back then to make that happen wouldn't work today, but still, that was my goal. And the reason being is with the higher the net worth people I worked with was, the more they just wanted, they wanted that consistent. They just want to know, look, I don't want to take a loss, right? I'm 50, I'm 60, I cannot afford to, they don't want to take a loss, but can you give me a consistent gain? And I will tell them, I'm not going to get you 20, 30%. I'm sorry, I can't promise you that. I'm not going to lie to you. Um, I know what you're looking at on the news and all this other nonsense, but let me show you how I can get you that 8%. And then if the world goes to hell in a handbasket, you don't catch that L.
Right. Well,
Like,
I mean, sometimes the news is like, tabloid fodder, and
yeah,
a lot of it is make believe. Let's be honest.
yeah.
You get
But
these people that are talking about they're making, 20, 30%. And it's just like, okay.
yeah, okay. Um, yeah, you keep playing with money like that if you want. But in any respect, like someone who's earning over 250K per year is looking for tax relief. So what can you learn? What services can you provide? What can you do for them that will help them eliminate their tax issue? In real estate, it's amazing to me, man, how many investors and how many real estate agents. Oh, I don't have any behind me. There's a book that I need to reread. I read it last year because I want to just bone up again on it. It's amazing how people don't understand all the benefits tax wise to owning real estate. It's amazing how you can like eliminate so much of your tax burden, right? You can go to a wealthy person or approach somebody that has deep pockets and say, look, I can't get you these 20, 30% returns, but how about I help you eliminate, a good 50% of your typical tax burden? I'm not going to promise to eliminate all your taxes, but if you're accustomed to paying this amount of taxes, how about we talk about how to lessen that by 20, 30%? How does that sound? Yeah, talk to me about that. I'd like to learn more about that. Um, Look, you own this real estate, you own this business, you have a mixed family. Look, let me have a conversation with you about legally what's going to happen if you get into a car accident or if you meet your maker, right? Because nobody rehearses funerals, right? Let me talk
Right.
about what's going to happen with your mixed family, what's going to go down. because you've been sitting down talking to these yahoos saying all you need is a will and a box that you can get from Walmart. No. Let's have a conversation about how you should really structure your business. Let's have a conversation about how if your son gets into a car accident and hits somebody and breaks their hip, and then because the son is driving a car, your company cars, you let your son do that, right, for a day, just because you want to let your son have a good time, or your son's driving your car and that happens, and then you have a business that you have not updated your estate plan, and you have a business that's exposed or an investment that's exposed because it's not titled correctly, it's not in the right asset class, you don't have the right business structure. Let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about, this type of stuff that people who have like serious, because it's amazing to me, like we being entrepreneurs, we don't know what we know. It's easy to think that just because someone's a doctor, they're smart at being a doctor. That does not mean they're smart at finance. Does not mean they're smart at managing their assets and managing their lives,
And
right?
it doesn't mean that they're making a lot of money either because they could have a lot of debt that they're paying down
That
and
too.
be like somebody who's working and getting a certain amount and then they're, have a lot of debt that they're paying down and it's like, yeah, it looks great on paper. Because one of my good friends, part of the circle of people they grew up with, the guy is a doctor. He's like, but he was older when he got
Mhm,
his degree, and the amount of debt that this person has is um astounding.
mhm.
It's really when we were talking about it, I was thinking to myself like, well, I mean, he'll probably be paying that until the day he takes his last breath because it's just that large because
Yeah.
it's very, very expensive to go to grad school and all that kind of, it's very expensive, so yeah.
Post undergrad beats them pockets down.
Mhm.
You better build an asset. You better get tenure somewhere.
Right.
Straight up. Um, I guess what I'm saying is fix rich people's problems.
Hmm.
That's another way to get introduced to other individuals who are um, wealthy.
Hmm.
Even at this stage, if I find somebody with deep enough pockets who have a problem that I really genuinely enjoy solving, I'll do it pro bono or for a smaller amount of money. I will do it just to get in the door, prove my worth. They become my receipt, get their permission. Do you mind being my receipt that I've solved this problem for you? Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how you do it. I know this current generation, they're on some, well, I'm not going to do anything unless I'm getting paid top tier for my skills. And look, okay, I will come in and undercut someone in a heartbeat to get the relationship and to get the exposure and to get the access. I'll do it quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Well, that's a winning strategy because
Yeah.
people love a deal and they love when you can bring value to them and they're going to remember that.
Mhm.
So that's making a memorable experience. And it's I've said this a few times to people who I've interacted with and who I um have relationships with. Everything is not always about money. Like a lot of things are about relationships with people. And if you focus on that, you'll get to the money. Yeah.
All money is a receptacle, emblem, token of value. That's all it is. So the more valuable you are to the people around you, the more the money will find you. Right? Key number one, be of value to people who have it. And make sure you're in an environment where people appreciate your value. But if you address those two things, you'll never be without money.
Agreed.
Hmm.
Or resources or referrals.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. I wasn't expecting this conversation to take that long. 'Cause I knew we were going to be on the same page
I
and
mean,
thinking
yeah,
about the same thing.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course. I mean, and it's things that we've discussed and we always try to bring value to the, our format here. So,
Yeah. So you and your phone, I know what you're doing.
well, they had some questions.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. My I got my focus on, so I'm not getting the I know as soon as we end up here, I'll have like 20 text messages. Um, she needs to know. I think she thinks I'm gonna be at the closing.
Right, but you're not.
I know, but I'm gonna text her.
I can let them know that.
Yeah.
Like,
We didn't need to let them know it's not because I'm being rude or obnoxious.
no, no,
I
no, no, no,
have
no. It has nothing to do with that. It just has
yeah,
to do with the fact that it's just not convenient. I mean,
yeah,
personally, like if I have a traditional closing and it's, like a traditional, somebody that's traditionally buying, I'll make it my mission to be there because it's a special day for you.
right,
However, for an investor, 9.5 times out of 10, I'm not going to be there because it's just a completely different situation unless it's convenient and unless they really need me there. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be signing electronically anyways. They've both been communicating with me. That's why I'm like kind of like in my
I
phone.
see it.
But I'll give them, a quick and a lot of times too, I like to just text because they get to be too needy where you're just like, all right, it's very cut and dry. It's
Yeah,
sent to you, you're gonna sign, bam, up out of there.
yeah,
And it'll be a done deal. So
yeah, yeah.
yep. And
You know,
I'll let them know too that it's really traditionally it's really not it's, there's no reason for you to be there.
yeah, I'm gonna end up rendezvousing with them at some point. So I want to shake their hand and do the celebratory high five. But no, I have too much going on today. Um, I have something I'm getting ready to send you. You're gonna laugh because you know when I do my walkthroughs, when I do my walkthroughs, I have to have color commentary on my videos. um, yeah, I'm gonna get this to you. Make this happen. What are you excited about though, right now?
um I'm excited about the fact that I have the correct um, version of QuickBooks now. I'm excited about,
I
um,
love it.
I am very excited about that though, because
Yeah.
many, many years I operated in the ghetto zone. And what I mean by that is like I um, basically um, had a bookkeeper as opposed to an accountant.
Mm.
And I think when I got my accountant, I just leveled up automatically, like by 10x everything. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad that I got that taken care of. And I've been doing some things internally within my organization to um, level up. I'm in the process of phasing out some tasks that are not generating any sort of benefit. And I'll be phasing out some people that are, for lack of a better term, just
Hmm.
the relationship is more parasitic than it is anything else. you know,
That
it's
I didn't know you were dealing with. Yeah.
I mean, no, it's just like, it's, I think like sometimes people just get too comfortable and they
Mm.
need, that wake up call. And so I'm doing a lot of things internally, and then I have some other things that I'm, in the process of resolving. I resolved something yesterday, a legal situation with a non-performing roach living in a property.
Why are you out of control? What is going on with you?
I'm saucy today. I'm very saucy. And
uh,
I was very saucy yesterday
that
with
person
my
upset you for you to go there.
I mean, it was just a combination of things. It was a combination of them, their $10 court-appointed attorney with their 13 and below skirt on and their dime store perm.
Oh my
It
God.
was a whole, just a lot. So I've
Is the
resolved.
case over with?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. All right, keep going.
Yes, it's over.
Yeah.
So I resolved that. So yeah, things are looking up. I'm gonna have a good weekend. I'm going to a concert later, so I'm looking forward to that. So yeah. And I'm happy with my PPLSI business because I do have activity and people that are in my organization that are definitely doing some things. Um,
Yes.
so
Congratulations.
happy about that too because for a long time I just felt like I was getting a lot of frogs and I was not meeting any Prince Charming. So it's nice to finally see the fruits of my labor paying off.
I
So
remember these conversations with
yeah,
you.